If you tell me Dean Winchester is in a TV series, then I'm probably going to watch it.
Pudding!
Jensen Ackles is in a new Prime Amazon TV series, whatever you want to call it. It's a cop procedural drama with a team that is similar, like 24 and a little bit Burn Notice.
When you're burned.
But is it worth your time? Let's talk about it. An LAPD officer joins a secret task force to investigate a suspicious murder, but uncovers a sinister plot that requires the team to unite and save millions in the city. So this TV series is doing something weird with its release date. As per usual now with Prime Video, they release a bunch of episodes first and then make it a weekly procedural tune-in each week, like we used to get when, before streaming or binge watching was a thing. So we get 3 episodes and then subsequent episodes up until 13. Now, for those reviewers that have said they've watched the entire 13, they haven't. All press people have been given 10 episodes, but I can say that the first 10 episodes complete the story arc that's given in here. There is a hint at future things to come at the latter end of episode 10, but for the most part, all questions are answered. And that's not to say now that you know that and that there might be a future for this series that the characters all survive. Because, like great storytellers like Stephen King always says, kill your darlings. I was on the edge of my seat because I started to like the characters, but I was only starting to like the characters after the first 3 episodes. So my initial top tip for watching this is definitely watch episode 4 and then decide whether you want to go and continue with the series. If you don't like it by end of episode 4, then you probably are not going to like it as you carry on. The first 3 episodes sets up this arc with our character that's pretty much like Dean if he was taking some time off from the monsters and just going after general bad guys like terrorists, because he even dresses similar. He has the same similar stance. There is some uniqueness with his character here, but for the most part, if you are familiar with the Dean Winchester character, you're going to see a lot of similar traits in this. And I guess that's really hard to take away from because, after 15, 16 seasons of Supernatural, it's going to be hard to go the way of doing something completely different when it is very similar in parts. And I think that's going to be the crux of the matter with this series, because it is very similar, but it doesn't do anything massively unique in this genre. When it comes to cop procedural dramas, there are so many. This one is trying to be a bit 24, even with the name countdown, and there is definitely tension in timing. There's always a clock that they're working against, because once they find out what is going wrong within this first murder, that they're going to need to work against the clock, do their investigations, because every episode leads to something more and uniquely different. All the bad things that can happen in an investigation will happen, because otherwise the drama wouldn't be there and we tune out, because it'd be like, oh, this is really boring. I'm watching actual police work, which is just filing paper notices and trying to get something through the politics and do your job. It would be really boring, because actually what real police work is like is lots of paperwork. So that would be absolutely boring. Thankfully, they don't do that. They do a little bit of 24, they do a little bit of MacGyvering, and they are all kind of Jack Bauer characters. At first, the character team that is brought together from different walks of life. You've got a little bit of the FBI, you've got a little bit of detectives, you've got some hard-boiled nut cases in here, as well as some guys that don't really want to be there but know the call of duty. So we have this team of individuals that at first glance can come across as very 2D dimensional. Like you look at them and you know who or what that character is. But even by the end of the first episodes, we are starting to see what makes these characters tick. What makes them more unique for you to want to carry on watching. And I have to say, especially our main character through Dean Winchester, Jensen Ackles, through his character, there's a lot more at stake personally for each of these characters. We get to see a little bit of their lives. Thankfully, it doesn't detract from the 10 episodes that I've seen, because we get a little bit at glances at, I guess, their personal lives. But mostly the downtime is with the team coming to get to know each other, so that when they're spending a little bit of time in between the investigations, in between, slamming doors and, getting really angry that they haven't figured this part out the case, or everybody filing into a police vehicle, or the obligatory chase, climbing on top of the car, let's have a little bit of action here, some gun shootouts. In between that, the team dynamic does work to make you like the characters so that you keep wanting to watch. There's a formula here that also is very kind of clickbaity, but it's been a formula that's been tried and tested in these cop procedurals, where they'll give you the hook at the beginning of the episode, and then there'll be a hook at the end, a sort of cliffhanger for each episode, so that it makes you want to come back and watch the next one. They also do this thing as coming up this season, and I really wish that we would kind of work away from that, because the coming up this season is a spoiler for the entire season. It's like having a teaser trailer for a movie that's coming out and you go, yeah, I really want to watch that. But then we get 3-4 different versions of trailers that are 3 minutes long, a featurette, a behind the scenes. So but by the time we get to the cinema to watch the movie, you've seen all the best bits. This TV series does that, so another top tip would be to avoid the coming up this season or coming up in the next episode. I'm already invested if I'm still watching. I don't want to be showing the best bits of the next episode. The action in this is very play by the numbers, but it's also very believable. The dialogue is very play by the numbers, but it also feels right at home within the cop procedural drama. And I feel like I'm coming down very hard in this, but that's not actually the case. I really did enjoy this series. Eventually, after those 4 episodes, I was tapped in. I wanted to know what was going to happen next, how they were going to escape this big level event. It goes from murder to how we are going to stop, the big MacGuffin, and it is definitely millions on the edge, and only we can save the day. It does feel very patriotic in places, like America. And that's okay if the characters are likable, and they are in this, and the action is somewhat believable, and because not every character survives, there is a sort of tension there. You're kind of wondering, are they going to manage to save the day, even though you kind of know that eventually they will, because otherwise there won't be enough of a TV series for this to find its footing, for it to come back for a second and third and fourth season, and like with 24, you have that clock, doop, doop. It has this countdown that works well, and it's a sort of nod to the 24 realm, but also kind of tries to play in its own garden, trying to pick the best bits from a genre that's done to death, but then give us some very likable characters eventually. So give it time. If you like Jensen Ackles, you're probably in for the ride. You'll be like, yeah, even if it was rubbish, I'm going to watch it. But there's a core group here, a team that have their own issues. They are broken people that need to work together and put their shit aside, which they do for the most part. Mostly. Because of a big thing that's happening, like in a 24-hour day, but MacGyvering it like in Burn Notice. So let me know your thoughts and feelings. Are you going to check this out? Do you know these characters? Are you looking forward to this one? Or did you look at this and go, that looks so American and so patriotic? And yeah, there is a bad guy in here that I wanted to talk about before I gave my rating, which makes this show also worthwhile checking out, because they could have totally phoned it in. When it comes to procedural cop dramas, a lot of these dramas do this thing where you get a MacGuffin bad guy or a MacGuffin henchman. We spend some time in their lives to show us why they're doing what they are doing. It gives us a reason to not necessarily root for them, but also feel for them somewhat. And so it, again, isn't just a paint-by-the-numbers bad guy, but it has a bit more personality. You're not rooting for them, but you understand. So rather than just being the MacGuffin bad guy, you get something more. And I appreciated that. It spent some time with this character to understand how this character could have gotten, or multiple characters could have gotten to this place to do what they're about to do. Is it right? No. But can you understand it? Yes. And I appreciated that. So rather than just having a conveyor belt of a generic henchman, we get something with a little bit more flavor. Could have been much more fleshed out, and I would have liked that. But for what we've got so far, it's great. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings about the cop procedural dramas similar to that of Burn Notice, similar to that of 24, which have been your favorite over the last few years, because 24 has been, gone and dead for a while. But there's been some really interesting ones with SWAT as well, which I really like. I think it was Flashpoint was one that was great. There's a few that stands above the rest. That means that they have great writing, great action, and that's the reason why you keep coming back to it. I don't think this is going to blow you out of the water, but I think once you like the characters, you will definitely want to be finding out what's going to happen to them and how they're going to save the day. And so I didn't mind spending my time with this. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. I'm going to give this 3.75 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
I guess I was pretty horny.
I wanted to give it a 4, but I can't. It's just not that good. Maybe season 2 will get to that. I wanted to give it a 4 because I like the characters. I like the in-your-face kind of boldness of, yeah, we are the heroes. We're still getting the good guys. The soundtrack is soundtrack/score is very much in your face. It's got loud kind of rocky score that kind of drives forward the action scenes. It's all very well choreographed. It is play by the numbers though. So can't wait to hear what you guys think of this. I do think some people are just going to find this generic as heck, but others will find a lot to like here. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.